I'm about to call on stage a renowned keynote speaker and a leadership coach who is a director for marketing and strategy, planning, and a management committee member of Farabi Petrochemical Company. He is the current District 79 Chair for Youth Leadership Program and Gavel Committee and past Division L Governor. He's a great supporter of Division D, E, and L, as that is his homegrown divisions. A champion orator and an IS finalist during SATAC 2012 and also 2013. He's a chemical engineer with a post-graduation in management from Milton Keynes University from the UK. He's blessed with a beautiful family, his son and daughter, as per him, which is true, are his top priorities. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, please help me in welcoming your workshop presenter for today, distinguished Toastmaster, Peri, with a thunderous round of applause.
That's quite a bit of a walk. Quite some walk. I hope you can hear me clear. Okay, hello, am I clear? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. International President, DTM Balraj Arunachalam, dear DTM, Dr. Suleiman Al-Mahdi, district officials, conference leaders, Toastmasters, friends, and families. Good afternoon. We are at SATAC in a confluence, at least confluence of what is left over in the evening, confluence of great leaders, proven leaders, young and aspiring leaders, and some of us who are contemplating leadership as a future pathway sitting here. And I want to thank you all for that. But when we are having such confluence of leaders, why are we discussing a subject like this? Leadership, making it as a habit. Proven leaders are sitting here and aspiring leaders are here. Does this question occur to you or does it strike within you? Okay, if it does, I'm just going to tell you, as leaders, many a times along our journeys of leadership, we face those frustrating moments. Frustrating moments, not because the tasks or the goals or the targets that we have on hand are challenging. Those are something that we have to handle as leaders. But I'm talking about the situation around us is challenging. The people around us are probably sometimes unable to connect with this the way they want to connect with this as real leaders. And probably our ability to lead comes under questions. Our farsightedness comes under question. Our wisdom to lead comes under question. And our leadership capabilities and acceptability of us as leaders comes under a challenge. And we get frustrated. Have you faced those moments as practicing leaders? Yes. Very much. I think all of us very often. So, sometimes we doubt if we are seen as the leaders that we wish to be, or we intend to be, or we mean to be. Again, frustrating moments. Okay, it is such moments, such frustrating moments should act as strong drivers, not just push us away from leadership. They should push us towards leadership in making leadership as a habit. Leadership is not just a role, it's not an activity, or it is not a title. Leadership is a habit, it's a way of life that needs to be wired in within us. Very much. Great leaders, wonderful leaders, proven leaders, the legends that we are all used to. They are great leaders, are so great because they eat, they think, they sleep, they wake up, and they breathe leadership. And that is what makes them great leaders. And that's what makes them connect to their people always, lift their people always, influence their people always, and elevate their people always. For which you need to make leadership as a habit. Leadership is not just a position or title. I'm saying this again because we are going to be discussing this over the next 30, 40 minutes. And during that time, I'm also going to explain you certain aspects, certain qualities of leadership. Sometimes we or some of our friends, we become club officers, we become ExCom members, we become presidents, we become area directors, we become distinguished Toastmasters, and after a while, we start becoming visitors, guests, advisors, and we start disappearing. We totally dissolve. We disappear from the situation. We are not to be seen. Have you faced this? Have you seen this? We very often see this, like one of the other speakers was saying, sometimes our club members leave the club. Why does it happen? Why does it happen? I'm going to report what I see, what I see as a reflection from I'm not judging, okay? I'm just reporting. I very often get to see when people go through a leadership track and they practice as leaders for a while, and after that they start, becoming less seen or less visible as leaders. These are the two things that I keep hearing from them. We are too busy. We are too busy to be available. But let's say, Mr. Toastmaster so-and-so, you were available last year. No, last year I was not busy. I have no time. Last year I had time. His leadership is something that we need to take up when we have time. Leadership has to be a habit that needs to be completely wired into us. So this is one reason why people probably find difficulties, disconnection with the people around them. Sometimes, honestly speaking, though they may have all these reasons, they are having some difficulties in connecting the people around them, the situations around them, the circumstances around them as effectively as they did in the past. And that is also a reason. One another reason is probably in Toastmasters, when we approach leadership, we approach leadership projects, communication projects, which lead us to become better leaders. We approach them in a kind of a mechanical way. We pursue them like an educational milestone. Imagine, I'm just giving you an analogy. Imagine you are having a discussion with your daughter. Your Toastmaster is having a discussion with his daughter, a beautiful daughter. And she is in, let's say, grade 8. My daughter is in grade 7, grade 8. Dad, I passed grade 8 with honors. Oh, and the Toastmaster says, I've done my competent communicator. And if she says, I've done my grade 9 with high honors, and the Toastmaster is going, I have done my DTM. Many times, we approach our educational projects, our leadership projects, as kind of educational milestones. Leadership, it cannot be an educational milestone. Leadership definitely is a function of getting educated, but you convert those education into practices, into habits, into a lifestyle which needs to be wired into us. That's what it takes to make leadership as a habit. Now, sometimes, also, after a while, after our initial successes as leaders, after the initial momentum achieved through the specific skill sets that we have, some specific strengths that we may have, now we start hitting a wall. Our initial movements will be exciting. We may be connecting very nicely, but after a while, we feel that we are stagnating and we are hitting a wall. Have you faced it? Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Probably we are not investing adequately in ourselves as leaders. which is the reason it happens, right? As aspiring leaders, believe me, every one of us want to be touching so many other lives. So when this happens, we start wondering, why does it happen? What do I do to move forward? How do I move forward? All these things come to our mind, right? Because we want our lives, as leaders, as aspiring leaders, our lives to be touching so many other lives, our lives to matter. We want our stories to be stories of significance, which will influence and elevate so many people out there. So when this happens, when this stagnation happens, when this frustrating moments come across to the leaders, they don't know what to do. That's because they are not probably investing enough in themselves. Now, as leaders, I'm just going to ask you, or think along with you, let me put it that way. I want to think along with you and ask, what do you consider as the most important value or the virtue of a leader? The greatest virtue of a leader? Some answers. Sorry, compassion. Yes? Sorry? Empathy. Wonderful. Direction. Wonderful. Far-sightedness. Yes, we discussed about far-sightedness. One more, and then we'll move. Commitment. Yes. All of them, all that you said are all very important. But based on my little research on the stories of those wonderfully inspiring leaders, great leaders, legends that we lived upon, that we have witnessed in this world. And based on my own little practice of leadership, I think it is the ability to continually and consistently inspiring people that comes as the supreme most. Leaders are great sources of inspiration. And it is this quality that makes them to be continuously connecting with the people around them. Leaders. Okay? They are, I would even say that they are continuous transmitters of inspiration. How do they manage to do that? They get inspired, go inspiring. They're always inspired and go inspired. They read, they register and deliver. They do, digest and deliver as leaders. All the great leaders always did this. So I would want to call this ability to continuously transmitting inspiration of leaders as a process of transpiration. Transpiration is a very, very important element of continuously being able to inspire your followers. If you go Google this word, you will not find an answer. You will find a biological definition for transpiration, but this is a process. This is the ability to continuously transmit inspiration in people. And how do you do that? As I discussed, you need to get inspired and go inspiring. Be inspired and go inspiring. Read, absorb, deliver, do, digest and deliver. This is what all great leaders always did. And that is why they remain the great leaders that they are. And leaders are ambassadors of this transpiration. Is lived by their inspiration. If remember, we talked about those frustrating moments. When people come to you with those frustrating moments, as a great leader, you need to be able to clarify things for them, qualify things for them, show them things that they cannot see themselves. The process of continuously developing this ability in yourself as a leader is so very important. And that is what makes us be a sustainably great leader who is always available for his people for all situations and still be inspiring them continuously. Now, let's also quickly look at what these great people, what did they have to say about leadership? The doyen of leadership, the best one I admire as a great leader, Mr. Nelson Mandela. This is what he had to say about leadership. I think yesterday one of the table topics was on leadership, I understood. during the semifinals. See what he says. To inspire greatness, you need to exceed expectations. In fact, to inspire greatness in people, you need to exceed their expectations. He had to say this when he came out of the prison after 27 years for a particular situation. If you little bit rearrange this, read this. If you have to exceed the expectations that people have on you, you need to inspire greatness. Inspiration is so important as a leader. Let us look at another modern day magician of a leader. We recognize this, right? Mr. Elon Musk, the technology guru, the person who today who is changing the world, the person who is converting the impossible things as possible for human beings. This is what he had to say about leadership. Inspire people towards the achievability of a perceivably impossible value creation. There's a lot of words, there's a lot of phrases there, but but there is a deeper philosophy in it. We need to understand what it simply means. Making possible what people perceived as impossible. He is the person who brought in the battery cars, the Tesla cars, and changed this world. And today it is commercially viable. It is changing the world and providing us the clean energy cars. He is the person who wants to send humans to Mars and make human beings as a multi-planetary species. Inspire people towards achievability of a perceivably impossible value creation. Inspiration. The bottom line is inspiration. That's what this great leader is. Just to sum up, leadership is not a title. Leadership is not a position. Leadership is not something that you occupy for a while. Every one of us sitting here, every one of us alive, has the power to go to work every day and produce the absolute best that we can possibly produce. We don't need a title for that. We just need to make leadership as a habit. And every one of us alive has the power to inspire, influence, and elevate everyone that we meet, probably here, probably outside there, probably in the YLP hall, and we elevate them. We don't need a title for that. We just need to learn to make leadership as our habit. Having said that, let us quickly look at what I think are the top 5 virtues of becoming a great leader, on developing the ability to continuously inspire people. What do we have to do? There are so many, again, qualities of a leader, but this top 5, I consider it now, it is evergreen. You need to be continuously iterating and optimizing it. Let's quickly look at them. Number 1, mastering yourself. Again, we're talking about inspiring people. Mastering yourself or self-mastery. Number 2, influence and impact. Number 3, community, having a community orientation. Perseverance. And finally, balancing. I want to quickly run this with you. Mastering yourself is so very important. Before we go around as leaders and start inspiring people or aiming to inspire people, we need to find inspirations within ourselves. We need to do the deep interior excavation within ourselves to bring out the genius from ourselves. This has to be a continuous process if we are aiming to be an inspiring leader forever, like those legends. The problem with this is, very often, even as leaders, we find it difficult to lead ourselves every day. How many of you plan, lead, and schedule your priorities every day perfectly? Okay? At least if we don't schedule, we don't do it, right? The biggest problem, sometimes as leaders, we are so busy leading others, and we forget to lead ourselves. Okay? And for which, I have these following 3 questions. As leaders, do we let our values and beliefs drive our daily priorities? Do we, as leaders, let our deep-rooted priorities drive our daily moves? And do we let those values and beliefs drive our moves and determine our daily performances? Okay, these are all big. The basic thing is your values and beliefs should come into your daily actions, and they have to be planned for, and they have to be your priority, and you have to make your performances to be born out of these values, beliefs, and priorities which you wish to have as a leader. Sometimes we take up a leadership role, we take up a leadership position, but we start drifting. We start doing things that we feel comfortable doing. But that is not the way to be inspiring people continuously. If you want to rise like those legendary leaders, if we want to be like them, anywhere close to them, we need to learn the way they learned and how they learned. If you want to be anywhere close, anywhere in the direction, we need to learn the way they learned and how they learned. It is so very important. I don't know how many of you have heard Bill Gates talk about his reading and learning habits. Can you guess? I once heard him speak. Many of the leaders must be knowing here. I once heard him speak. Do you know how many books Mr. Bill Gates reads in a year, approximately? 100? You are a little better than Bill Gates, Mohammad Zawad. I think I once heard this. It's there on YouTube. He reads about 50 books in a year. 50. And all of them non-fiction, by the way. Nothing is fiction. 50 books in a year means about one book a week. And this is what he had to say. The empire, the business that he has built, one of the most influential business brand that he has built in this planet. And for that, I think he said, one of the major contributing factors is his learning and reading habits. And that is what made him transform his boundary from just being a businessman to becoming a great humanitarian and a great philanthropist to give back to this world. His reading habits and learning habits. And he had these 3 quick advices for aspiring leaders to be learning leaders. Whatever you read, it has to be, number 1, serious reading. No casual reading. When you are reading, you have to be concentrating. When you're learning, you have got to be concentrating and converting what you're learning as concepts into reflections internally. So do serious reading if you're reading. Don't do casual reading. And number 2, get into those white zones. Block out your reading time if you're reading. He says he reads for about 1 hour a day before he goes to bed. And absolute focus. You cannot do 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Okay? And finally, he says, finish what you start. Or do not start what you cannot finish, but finish what you start. Because you cannot have those half-cooked understanding or gap in understanding and go about preaching to people and start inspiring them or convert them into concepts that you want to practice yourself. So these things are so very important. I felt they are very, very valuable advices coming from a great man like him. And the question I have for the aspiring leaders or the leaders that we are, do we have a daily learning or reading time? I'm not saying or I'm not advocating that we all have to carry books always. Okay, some form of learning. It could be reading books. It could be listening to audio books. It could be listening to podcasts. It could be singing if you are great. If you want to be a great, it could be dancing if you want to be a great dancer. Okay, but are you dedicating learning time every day? And do we have our concentrated white zones of our learning? Even if you want to become a great football player, do you have that concentrated learning zones that you are following every day? And thirdly, do we reflect our learnings into practices sincerely? If you want. Yes, Toastmaster Nawaf. I have a timer light. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, white zones, what he says is, you need to block out your reading time. Let's say you're learning something on leadership, a leadership book. You need to block out. You cannot do casual reading. You need to focus, concentrate. And he even says you need to take notes. You need to write down, which many of us, I do it. Okay, when I do the reading, I do it very sincerely. I think most of the people who are doing serious reading, I'm sure Muhammad is a good reader, I know. There are so many readers here. I'm sure our international president is here. You need to get into those focus zones, reading and note down. Don't drift. Do one page, go away. Come after 1 hour, doing one page. That's what. Do serious, focused. Why block out your time? That's what it means. So it is so if you have to be like them, learn like them. That's the message here. And another, I wanted to hear again, there is a concept called capitalization in learning, in self-mastery, okay, which is one of the modern day concepts by Robin Sharma, management guru. Now what he says, all these genius players achieve geniality, not because they're just blessed with this. All these players you look at, whether it's Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, or anybody, they identify their single most talent, best talent that they have, and they spend extra time on them every day and bring out the genius in them. So if we have to bring out the genius which is available in every one of us sitting here, we have to follow that process. We need to spend extra time every day as a learning leader. Because we talked about the frustrating moments in the beginning. Because the frustrating moments do come because when you're faced with challenges, you are not able to connect with clarity and provide solution to your people. So that becomes a disruption. Education is inoculation against disruption. As leaders, we have to get educated every day, or every hour, regularly, consistently. And very quickly, on barriers, we talked about self-mastery and learning. What are the barriers to that learning? What are the barriers to self-mastery? I want to talk about two things here. Number one, as leaders, as practicing leaders, this is also applicable in Toastmasters, we come under constant pressure of mediocrity. Okay, we want to bring the bars down so that everyone can play around. In fact, we should lift the bars up so everyone will start. The quality of everyone goes up. The quality of education goes up. The quality of leadership goes up. Sometimes, as leaders, we start existing with a myth that we have to do what we have to do, rather than going for, we should be doing what we need to do, what we want to do. Look at it. Look at learning pathway like that way. Sometimes we do, for example, CC1, CC2, CC3, I want to finish in 1 month because my VP education wants me to do it. Don't do it. Do your CC projects like a song. Give the best efforts. Bring out the best quality in you. You will find the best leader in you sooner or later. The second one, with again practicing leaders, is this. I took it from our world champion, Mr. Mark Brown. When he was here in Jubail, he said, we need to know what we don't know. And this is so much applicable to leaders. As leaders, we need to know what we don't know. The problem is, sometimes as leaders, we don't want to know what we don't know. We start imposing our views on people around. We start doing their jobs, okay? And we stop learning from them. Sometimes you learn from them. People around you know better than, on certain aspects, better than you know. By doing that, you are learning what you need to know as a leader. And also, you are giving the feeling your team members that you are listening to them. You are letting them contribute to the process. They feel that they are adding some value. Do you see that? Do you see that? I mean, we need to know what we don't know as leaders. That's very important, instead of imposing. And secondly, we also need to remember, unlearning is a very important process of learning. We need to unlearn certain things and change. Okay? So that is number one, achieving self-mastery. As leaders, we are always engaged in deep interior excavation process till we die. That's what great leaders did. So follow that very sincerely. Second one is influence and impact. Influence is the beginning of leadership. If there is no influence, if you cannot influence, you cannot be a leader. And why do we need to? And our ability to influence and impact the world around us or the people around us, what does it depend upon? It's supposed to be a question. What does it depend upon? Our rank? Our position? Or our title? I think this is the answer. The extent of the impact that you can create on the world around you depends on the size of your commitment to the purpose that you stand by, live by, and even die by. If Mahatma Gandhi or Mr. Steve Jobs were able to create the impact that they created around the world around them, it's not because they waited for a title to create that impact. It's because their purpose, the commitment to the purpose that they stood for was so large, and they could create the impact that they created. You don't need seniority, you don't need title, you don't need a rank. In fact, you don't even need seniority if you have to create the impact, if your purpose is strong enough and your commitment is strong enough on the world. And as great leaders always consistently do this. I don't know how many of you can recognize the girl in this picture. I'm sure you will be able to recognize the background. It is the girl in the picture, the name is Bana Alabit. She's from Syria. And I don't know if any one of you know about it. She was declared by Time magazine as one of the top 25 influential persons of the year. And the reason behind that is when there was the first time in 2016, there was this deadly bomb attacks, obnoxious gas attacks, and all those nasty things were going against them by the perpetrators. People were dying, they were starving. It was all against hospitals, children, schools, and where even children and women were there. And this world had no idea because the attack was so nasty and so continuous. Even journalists did not have access to that location. So her mother, Bana Labid's mother, what she did, she created a Twitter account and started sending tweets every day. World leaders, what are you doing? This is happening. This is what is happening. We are suffering, we are dying, and there is gases here. Children are dying and bleeding, and that is how the news agencies picked up what was happening, and that became a big relief, and that is how the perpetrators also were caught in that crime, and many of them were evacuated from there. The world responded. The message here is, that's her mother and daughter. The message here, she caused that influence and impact because, her age is nothing. Her mother is not even educated. Because the size of the commitment to the purpose was so strong. So we can all do it. This is very quickly, I want to talk about as leadership here. I just wanted to leave this with you as aspiring leaders. There are different types of levels of influence available if we want to practice positive influence in any situation. Number one is influence by rights, using a position, but it doesn't work up to beyond a level. The other person can take a position based on rights. Second one is based on relationship. You build a beautiful camaraderie with your team, do it. But again, here the issue is there is no accountability. They're not very results driven. They're very friendly manner. You get friendly with everyone. You try to please everyone and get things done, which is not a sustainable influence level. The third one is the most practiced one in profit organization, influence based on results and accountability. The one is influence based on growth. We can talk in detail about this later. I'm just rushing on this particular slide. Influence based on growth is by empowerment, by sharing growth with people around, making people, they're sharing the benefit of the progress. And the topmost one is influencing people based on respect that you generate in the industry. Let's say, for example, Jack Welch or Mr. Nelson Mandela in a social environment, in a human rights environment. Leaders who are able to generate this kind of an influence by respect, which is personhood, they are beyond the boundaries of their operation. They become global. They become globally influenceable leaders. Okay, so we talked about self-mastery, we talked about influence and impact. Next one I want to quickly look at is community from a leader's perspective, from a leader who wants to make leadership as a habit, needs to take community very seriously. Okay? Community is a key element of any legendary life. Family people sitting here, men and women, okay? And whatever be the area that you operate in, whether you work for a company as a manager, or you're a club president, or you're a football coach, you're always a community leader. We need to keep this in mind. We are dealing with people. We are dealing with families. We are dealing with feelings and relationships. So community orientation needs to be very strong in leaders' mind. A leader is someone who needs to have a perpetual orientation for others. Understand? You need to have a perpetual orientation for others. The need to develop this quality depends on how often you think for others, or you think for your goals and targets of your organization. Whether you're just keeping the vision and mission boards, not thinking about people, or you think more about the people. If you're one of those kinds, we should remember one thing. People don't care to know how much you know until they know how much you care. They don't care to know how much you know until they know how much you care. It is so very important. People are an important element of any leadership situation. And therefore, you need to always develop an ability to have a mind for them and have a mind of them. It is so very important. We need to help them discover the genius out of them. We need to help them show the neurobiology in them. We need to provide them the research data, and we need to provide those benefit briefs, which makes them, they can discover the heroes of humanity in every one of them. It is so very important. Community is a key element to legendary life. The next one, which I want to quickly cover, is perseverance. We all understand this quality, right? Perseverance. Anyone has a doubt on this? Persistence to a chosen course of action. It's very important. I'm just going to give you a little story on this, very quick story. Now, as leaders, if we want to achieve world-class results and want to be world-class leaders, we need to commit world-class efforts and world-class performance to achieve that. Once again, I'm bringing this magician back in the picture. We all know who he is, right? Elon Musk. When Elon Musk got into this dream of making space travel commercially viable for a common man or a human being, he wanted to get those rockets. He needed those rockets that can take, for this all that takes. I'm talking about 15 years ago. And he went to Russia and he had a discussion with this Russian team to buy those rockets. Everything was available. The kind of rockets that he wanted was available. The problem was one thing. They said the price tag is $8 million for one rocket. $8 million. Commercially viable operation for a common man, $8 million. He said, that is wonderful, but I can't pay $8 million. And they said, you got no money, boy. I don't think you can pay this. And he said, it's not the question of whether I can pay or not pay, but it is not something that is going to be commercially viable for my mission. I want to make humans travel from Earth to Mars, or wherever he was aiming, as viable, affordable for everyone. And he said, I think I can make it much cheaper. He came back, he started doing it. He launched his first mission, I don't know how many of you know, in 2006. And the rocket burnt off within seconds of takeoff. 2007, he took off, failed. 2008, took off, failed, blasted. A couple of years ago, he sent the rockets. The rockets were the first kind which came back and landed on Earth. The first time. And the cost of $8 million, if you remember, it cost him less than 1/12 of what those people said it costs. And today he's saying that he is going less than 1/12. It's about $400,000, $500,000 is what it took him. And he says he's going to optimize on that cost further. He failed, but never gave up and ended up successful. So, you know, perseverance is so very important quality in leadership. And perseverance can be painful. Perseverance could be a struggle. Perseverance is a big demand. But as leaders, we need to learn to enjoy that pain and struggle to pursue the path that we choose to pursue. Finally, balancing. We talked about all these things, but balancing yourself as a leader is an extremely important quality if you have to bring up the virtues of, the benefits of all these virtues so nicely and keep performing. Here, from Robin Sharma's school, I want to quote, every human being, if we want to be a performing human being, we need to balance the 4 interior empires that we have within us. Can anyone say what are the 4 interior empires that we have? Heart set, mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. Okay, you can have a great mindset. Is all about your analytical abilities, your problem-solving skills, your goal-setting skills, your visionary capabilities, your technical skills. You might have the mindset of those wonderful Elon Musk, but if you don't have a great heart set, with that wound being inside, with some hurt feeling inside, some anger inside, you're not going to be able to bring out the benefits of your mindset as well as you should be. Okay? Sometimes in leadership, you face a lot of animosity, right? Great leaders can vouch for that, right? We have a lot of negative situations around us. Sometimes people talk behind your back as a leader. You need to be prepared for that. You can't be responding to each and every one of them. But you need to have a great heart set. You need to have love. You need to have empathy. You need to have that understanding. You need to develop the skill of giving the benefit of doubt to those ignorant people and just don't mind it. That is heart set. Otherwise, you will be so obsessed with those hurt and anger feelings, and you will not be able to bring out your technical capabilities 100%. So you need to balance your mindset and heart set. They are 25% only. Today, you need to balance your health set also. As leaders, leadership is very energy demanding. Again, IP, Mr. DTM Balraj, is going to be traveling for the next 50 days, attending so many district conferences, so many clubs, so many meetings, so many offices, so many corporate clubs. So if he starts in the morning, he will complete in the evening, different time zones. It's going to be very energy demanding. So you need to manage your health set very well as leaders these days. It's talking about having great energy levels, fitness levels, lifestyle, your supplements, meditation, whatever you do. Because today performance is more energy demanding than intelligence demanding. This is applicable to everyone here. No one is an exception. So you need to manage your health set extremely well. And finally, the final 25% is the soul set. The soul set is, again, as leaders, we need to bring out the humanity in us, the human qualities in us, for which you need to beat down your ego. And if you don't beat down your ego, you don't bring the spirituality in you very nicely and connecting and be ever smiling with people, you cannot sustainably achieve mastery and manage mastery in your leadership. So we talked about mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. Balancing them as a leader is an important modern day quality in today's demanding world. Okay? Quickly, I'm going to sum up. We looked at the top 5 virtues: mastering yourself, which is self-mastery; influence and impact; community orientation, being a community leader if you want to be a successful leader; perseverance; and balancing. So very important. 5 top virtues of leadership. And I want to just leave you a quick leadership guide here, and I'm just using a clock. And we as leaders, again, we are driven by a clock. 24 hours is all the time that we have got. And most of us, all of us are working somewhere, right? Or self-employed. So we need to manage our work. So every day, we need about 7 to 8 hours to sleep and rest. Some of us maybe 5 hours, but I do 7 hours. And you need about 8 hours for going to work, and about 2 hours to eating and getting ready, and about 2 to 3 hours for health and exercises and fitness, whatever that you may want to have. What you're left with is 3 to 4 hours. Take 1 hour out of it. Around 3 hours is the learning and investment time available for you in a day. Which is what percentage? It is about 10 to 15% of your time is all that you got if you have to develop yourself into a legendary leader or learning leader, as a great leader. If you have to start moving along that projectile, that is the time that you got. If you do it on a weekly scale, it's about 168 hours. Maybe you can do a little more. So if you're able to invest about 15% of your time as a guide, as a leadership, if you're able to invest about 15% consistently, regularly, then you are on the very good category. If you're able to do 15 to 20%, you're on the super good category. If you're able to achieve this, you're in the excellent category. You can aim, at least we need to start 10, 15% to be a sustainably successful leader who wants to make leadership as a habit. Because as leaders, we are ambassadors of transpiration. You remember what we discussed about transpiration? What is transpiration? Transmitting inspiration, being the hero of transpiration. That is so very important. Topmost value for a leader. And if you manage to do that consistently, regularly, and successfully, and start practicing it, leadership will be definitely wired into you as a habit, and it is going to be inside every fiber of your being. Thank you all for listening so far. Thank you very much. Thank you.